Good morning, everyone, and Boker Tov. Welcome to everyone joining us live, and for those streaming later from your homes or offices. It is Thursday morning, the fourth day of Shavat, and we are standing at a fascinating threshold in the Jewish calendar. We're just over a week away from Tu B'Shvat, the new year for the trees, and even though it might feel like winter outside, deep in the earth, the sap is beginning to rise. The potential for life is waking up. And it is so fitting that we are approaching the season of hidden blooming, because in our Torah study this week in Parshat Bo, we are witnessing a different kind of blooming. We are witnessing the blooming of a people, a nation. Now, just last Thursday evening, I had the privilege of sitting with our learning circle, specifically our members aged 50 to 69, men, and we were wrestling with the very definition of a mitzvah. It's been such a powerful cohort. If you're watching this and you fall into that demographic, that men aged 50 to 69, Sinai Temple members, the sweet spot, I really encourage you to join us for our next sessions. We're going to do some deep work there. In that group, we've been looking at the philosophy of action. We read Abraham Joshua Heschel, who taught us that a mitzvah is an act which God and man have in common. We studied the Ishbitzer Rebbe, who spoke about how each soul has a particular mitzvah, something that's unique to them. We discussed how a mitzvah isn't just a good deed, it's a bridge. It's the language we use to communicate with the infinite. But today, friends, through the lens of Parashat Bo, I want to move us from the theory of mitzvah to the birth of mitzvah. This Torah portion is the pivot point of the Exodus. Until now, in the previous portion of Va'era, the Israelites were essentially spectators. It was a cosmic power struggle of elites. Moses versus Pharaoh. My staff versus your staff. My God versus your magicians. The Israelites were in the bleachers. They were watching the plagues unfold like a terrifying movie. But in Bo, the dynamic shifts entirely. God turns to the people, to the regular men and women, and effectively says, you want to be free? You have to do something. You can no longer just watch. I want to take a deep dive with you this morning into three specific dimensions of this parasha, using our texts to construct the architecture of Jewish freedom. The first one, the plague of darkness, the crisis of empathy. Number two, the invention of time, the first mitzvah. And number three, the paschal offering, the leap of action. So let's begin with the penultimate plague, the ninth plague, darkness, choshech. The Torah describes it in Exodus chapter 10, verse 21. It wasn't just a solar eclipse. The text uses a very strange phrase to describe the quality of this darkness. Vayamesh choshech, and there shall be darkness that can be felt. It had density. It had weight. It was a tangible, physical substance that pressed against the skin. But if you look closely at verse 23, the Torah gives us a terrifying definition of what this darkness actually did to society. It doesn't say they couldn't see the sun or they couldn't find the door. It says, Lo ra'u ish et achiv. A man could not see his brother. Velo kamu ish mitachtav. Nor could anyone rise from his place. The Chidushei Harim, Rabbi Yitzchak Meir Alter, the first Rebbe of Ger, teaches us something profound here. He asks, why is this the definition of darkness? Why focus on the interpersonal? He answers that the ultimate curse of Egypt, the ultimate manifestation of a slave society, is a reality where you cannot see the human being standing right next to you. When you are in Mitzrayim, oftentimes translated as a narrow place, your world shrinks. You become the center of your own universe. Think about the psychology of depression or deep anxiety, often described by the mystics as a form of spiritual exile. When we are in that state, we cannot rise from our place. we're stuck, we're paralyzed. And worse, we cannot see our brother. We lose the capacity for empathy because our own internal darkness is so consuming. The Netivot Shalom, the Slonimer Rebbe, takes this a step further. He says that this darkness is the root of all exile. When I look at you and I don't see a brother, I see a competitor. I see a nuisance, or I see nothing at all. That is the moment that God is exiled from the room. The darkness of Egypt was not just the absence of photons, it was the darkness of apathy. It was a society where the pain of the neighbor meant nothing. And notice the contrast in the Torah, and notice the contrast the Torah provides in the second half of that verse. Ulechol b'nei Yisrael haya or b'moshevotam. But for all the children of Israel, there was light in their dwellings. Why did they have light? The Midrash suggests that it wasn't because they had better candles or different physics. It was because they were in moshevotam, their dwellings, in plural. They were gathered together. The light was generated by their connectivity. As we discussed in our learning circle regarding Heschel, he warns us against viewing religion as a solitary affair. He says that the spirit of mitzvah is togetherness. If God and man have the act in common, then we must also have it in common with each other. A Jew cannot be a Jew in isolation. We need a minyan to pray certain prayers. We need a community to read the Torah. We need a partner to study. The antidote to the plague of darkness is not a light bulb. It's empathy. It's the ability to look at another person and say, I see you. You are my brother. So step one of leaving Egypt, step one of freedom, is regaining your peripheral vision. It's caring about someone other than yourself. Now let's move to the most critical shift in the Parsha. While the darkness is lifting, God interrupts the narrative flow. The drama is high. We are waiting for the final blow, the 10th plague, the death of the firstborn. But God hits pause. And in Exodus chapter 12, verse 2, God gives the very first commandment to the nation of Israel as a corporate body. It's not a commandment about beliefs or ethics. It's a commandment about time. It says, HaChodesh hazeh lachem rosh chodashim. This month shall be for you the head of months, the beginning of months. This is the commandment of Kiddush HaChodesh, sanctifying the new moon, setting the calendar. And we have to ask, why? Of all things a newly free people need, why is this the first instruction? Why not the 10 Commandments? Thou shalt not kill. Why not love your neighbor? Why not I am the Lord your God? The great Italian commentator, Rabbi Ovadia Sforno, in the 16th century, offers an insight on the word lachem, for you. That changes everything. He writes, from now on, the months will be yours, to do with them as you wish. In the days of your servitude, your days were not your own, but they belonged to others and their will. Think about the psychology of a slave. A slave has no relationship with the future. A slave lives in the tyranny of the immediate. Work now, eat now, sleep now. A slave cannot plan a wedding for next June. A slave cannot say, I'm going to learn a new trade in 5 years. A slave cannot say, I'm going to take Tuesday off. Someone else owns their time. By handing the Israelites the calendar, God is handing them the keys to dignity. God is saying, if you want to be free, you must master time. This is a revolutionary concept. In the ancient world, time was cyclic and determined by the gods or the king. But in Judaism, time is a partnership. In ancient Jewish law, the new month wasn't set by calculation alone. It wasn't enough for the moon to be astronomically new. It had to be witnessed. 2 witnesses had to run to Jerusalem and stand before the Sanhedrin, the high court, and the court would interrogate them, and only then would the head of the court declare, Mekudash, Mekudash, it is sanctified, it is sanctified. The Talmud in Rosh Hashanah 24a tells an incredible story about this. It says that the angels in heaven ask God, Master of the universe, when is Rosh Hashanah? When is the day of judgment? And God replies to the angels, why are you asking me? Let us go down and ask the earthly court. God effectively says, I have given the clock to the children of Israel. If they decide today is the first month, then it is. If they decide to delay it by a day, then I will delay my judgment by a day. Do you see this power of partnership? As we learned in our class, they oblige him as well as us. We are not passive recipients of holiness. We are the active creators of it. We determine when the holy days fall. So for us sitting here in 2026, the message is stark. We may not be slaves to Pharaoh, but we are often slaves to the urgent. We are slaves to the notifications on our wrist, to our phones. We're slaves to the inbox that never empties, the tasks that are never fully done. We live in a world where time is money, and therefore time is scarce. The mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh asks us, do you own your time, or does your time own you? When we stop for Shabbat, we are exercising this muscle. Abraham Joshua Heschel calls Shabbat a palace in time. When we light the Shabbat candles, we are building a fortress that the demands of the Egyptian taskmasters cannot enter. When we mark our yard site, something that we've been discussing a lot in the office this week, making sure we honor those dates correctly, we want to assert that memory matters more than productivity. To be free means to have the power to stop. To be free means to have the power to say, this day is holy. This brings us to the third and the final pillar of freedom in our Parsha, the Korban Pesach, the Paschal Lamb. God commands the Israelites in Exodus 12:3, Vayikhu lachem ish se leveit avot se labait. Let each man take a lamb for his family home, a lamb for the household. They are told to take this lamb on the 10th month, tie it to their bedpost for 4 days, and then slaughter it on the 14th day. Now we have to understand the cultural context to see why this is terrifying. This wasn't just a barbecue. In ancient Egypt, the ram was a deity. It was the representative of the god Hunum. The zodiac sign of Aries, the ram, was at its peak power in the month of Nisan. To take a lamb, to tie it up in preparation for slaughter, and keep it bleeding in your living room for 4 days was an act of high treason. It was a capital offense. It was a direct insult to the ruling religion and the ruling class. Imagine the Egyptian taskmaster walking by the Israelite slave hut. Hey, why is there a lamb tied to your bed? I'm going to sacrifice it to my God. You're going to do what? This required immense courage. But more than courage, it required action. We spoke in our learning circle about Heschel's idea of the leap of action. He writes, a Jew is asked to take a leap of action rather than a leap of thought. Until this moment, the Israelites just had to believe Moses. They had to nod their heads, but faith is not enough to leave Egypt. You need a deed. You have to kill the idol of your master. You have to break the psychological chain that binds you to Egyptian culture. God is effectively saying, you cannot just pray for freedom. You have to do something that makes you free. You have to reject the gods of Egypt publicly. And then comes the most intimate part of the commandment in verse 13. V'haya hadam lachem le'ot al habatim, and the blood shall be a sign for you upon the houses. Rashi, our great medieval commentator, points out something fascinating here. He asks, where was the blood placed? Was it on the outside of the door for the Egyptians to see? No. Rashi says the blood was placed on the inside of the doorframe. Why? The text says, lachem le'ot. It is a sign, lachem, for you. God doesn't need a sign to know which house is Jewish. God is the all-knowing. God knows who lives where. And the Egyptians didn't need to see it. The sign was for the Israelites themselves. They had to sit inside their homes at night, while the angel of death roamed the streets of Egypt looking for that blood. They had to look at the evidence of their own commitment. They had to sit in that dwelling with their families, eat the roasted lamb in haste, and internalize the fact that they were no longer Egyptians. This is a profound lesson in identity. We often think about Jewish identity as how we present ourselves to the world. Do we wear a kippah? Do we have a mezuzah on the outside? But the first mitzvah of identity was internal. It was on the inside. It asks us, what does your home look like on the inside? When the doors are locked and the world is shut out, is there a sign for you? Is your home a place of Jewish values? Is it a place of study? Is it a place of kindness? Freedom is not just a political status granted by a government. Freedom is an internal recognition of who you are. So let's set these three pieces together. What's the algorithm for freedom that Parashat Bo teaches us? Number one, empathy. You must come out of the darkness and see the face of your brother. You cannot be free alone. You need Moshavotam, a community of light. Number two, autonomy. You must master your own time. You must declare the holy days. You must decide that your time belongs to you and to God, not to Pharaoh. And number three, action. You must be willing to take a risk. You must be willing to slaughter the idol, whatever fear or habit is holding you back, and commit to a new path. As we go into this Shabbat and as we look forward to Tu B'Shvat, I want to leave you with a challenge inspired by the Ishbitzer Rebbe. He taught us that everyone has a particular mitzvah. In Parashat Bo, the particular mitzvah was courage. It was the courage to define oneself against the grain of society. Where are you in your life right now? Where in your life right now do you need to take that leap of action? Is there a conversation you've been avoiding? Is there a boundary with your time that you need to set? Is there a person in your life you need to truly see after a period of darkness? Let today, this 4th of Shvat, be the day you take the lamb, tie it to the bedpost, and prepare to move. And speaking of mastering time and building community, I want to end with a very special invitation. We have been building this community here at Sinai Temple for generations, creating our own dwellings of light. And this Sunday, we are celebrating a massive milestone. On January 25th at 7 p.m. this Sunday, right here at Sinai Temple, I am hosting an incredible concert called 120 Years of Music at Sinai Temple. It's going to be a spectacular evening celebrating the soundtrack of our community's life. From the music that sustained us in the past to the melodies that will carry us into the future. If you haven't purchased a ticket yet, please do so. Come be a part of the Moshavotam, the gathering of our people. Come help us sanctify time. Thank you for learning with me this morning.